I think I'm going to take a leave of absence from work and work on my art.
Your art?
What I do is a form of art.
Not exactly.
So, what do you think?
I don't think you should quit your day job. It's a pretty good gig you got there.
Well, I'm not quitting. I know it's a good gig. I'm just going to take a short leave of absence, maybe 3 months. I have some money saved up and I feel like I deserve a break.
You work 18 hours a week. You get lots of breaks.
I don't just work 18 hours a week. With all the paperwork, it's like double that.
Oh, you and your stupid anxiety. If you could get a hold of it, maybe it'd take you a lot less time to do your stupid paperwork.
If you could get a hold of your penis, maybe it would take you a lot less time to get a stupid boner.
That's pretty low.
I'm just angry that you don't really listen to me and you sit there with your newspaper in front of your face and you call me stupid.
Because you're an idiot.
How many years have I been at this job? I've been doing a good job. I don't know whether I need a change of career or I just need some time away doing the work that I really enjoy doing.
Work isn't supposed to be enjoyable. That's why they call it work.
I'm not going to just keep listening to you say that to me and have you thinking that my hobby is useless and unimportant.
I didn't say that.
I don't think you can quite understand me because you work from home and you're like semi-retired now.
You're such a whiner.
Starling, you were right. I am the jealous kind. Whoever would have guessed? Starling, now I am shut out and confined, even within my nest. What does it take to make it through another day? If a feather lined with his words becomes a blade, so when they play the song, sing along. It could be your turn to shine if you know the lines. Hey, what's that you say? You can find him online most of the time these days. Is that right?
Hello?
Oh, hi, it's Lily.
Hi, Lily.
Can you cover for me this week? I'm going in for my chemo.
Okay.
So you'll have to cover chapters 3, 4, and 5, and you'll have to remember to finish the portfolio on each individual.
Geez, that sounds like an immense amount of work. Is that how much you usually do in a week?
Don't you? That's what's expected of us.
I know, but I can never get that much done. I find I'm really BSing my way through it these days. Do you know what I mean?
Not really.
It seems subhuman for the management to be asking us to do this much work.
I managed to do it, and I have cancer, so...
I know, poor you. Maybe that's how you got cancer. Sorry, Lily, I shouldn't have said that. Good luck with everything this week. I'll say a prayer for you.
You'll what?
I'll pray for you. I'll ask Mother Mary to take good care of you.
Oh, that's freaky. Don't do that.
Okay, I won't. You want me to just go directly to God?
Oh, no. Well, whatever floats your boat, I guess. But I can take care of myself. And my real mother is going to be there for me, too. Anyways, so I think I'm good.
That's good, Lily. Take care.
Thanks for covering. Bye.
Goodbye.
The biggest illness our society faces is not HIV, not cancer, not multiple sclerosis. It's not one of these nasty
autoimmune diseases that are afflicting so many people now. It's not depression or anxiety. It's over-acculturation. And perhaps over-acculturation is one of the main causes of these horrible illnesses that I've just mentioned. Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes, author of the world-famous book, Women Who Run with the Wolves, has coined this term, over-acculturation. And she says that our collective culture wears glasses with certain images on them. Kind of Coke bottle glasses. She essentially says that our society sees in a very opaque fashion from an ego perspective and from a money-driven perspective. And that's how North American culture has certainly become, and it's gotten overboard and way out of control. Of course, we sometimes need to do all these things that call for an ego, like compete. We have to appear and sound smart sometimes. We have to show off our credentials and try to go for promotions. A lot of us dress to impress too, and there's nothing wrong with that, but there is way too much of an emphasis on our looks. Dr. Estes reminds us that we have to stand midway between that very needy ego world and the very hungering world of the psyche too. That part of us that is quite likely being called in a different direction from what society asks of us, from what our commitments ask of us, to look in both directions with full openness. Now let's look at what our culture does instead, to put it in a nutshell. And this is pretty nutty. The economy has changed over an extremely long period of time from what is actually needed and exchanged among people with good intentions and good giving hearts into something that's totally different. Now it's an economy that focuses on molding very unbelievably unique and creative individuals with incredible, one-of-a-kind gifts to give to the world into very uniform blobs of mass production and consumerism. Now, we blobs are trained for sometimes very long periods of time in many different ways to actually put out much of the same old, same old. Does this sound like your job? Does this sound like your education or your church? Does it sound like your doctor or your healthcare system? What about the weddings or the parties that you go to? Or when the culture deteriorates into making only 12 or 14, let's say, personality shapes, predictable personality shapes to be allowed to fit into, we become what Estes says, over-acculturated. There's too much of the culture and not enough of the individual. There are, okay, at the most, 20 slots. Let's bring it up to 20, she says, to squeeze into. 20 personality slots, at the most. And certainly there are all these different jobs out there and all these different subcultures offered to us, you know, especially now with the internet the way it has become. There are many good things happening, but many of us still don't feel like we fit in because there are still so many prescribed ways of being in a job, of being in a relationship, of being single, of being a proper parent, or being a somewhat socially acceptable or well-liked person. This is not a real culture.
She insists. This is a commerce culture. Now, the soul can certainly partake in that kind of culture. We can, and we do every day. But we can't thrive in it. If you're made the way you are with the interests and the strengths and the weaknesses that you have, then you'll have to find the nourishments, Estes says, that fit you and fill you, even if those particular nourishments are not really offered by the culture. You might have to, for yourself, end a particular, yet for all intensive purposes, okay relationship, even though you still have great respect and or love for that person, but in some ways that relationship is an ill fit. It could be a relationship, love relationship, friendship, business relationship. Or you may feel a burning desire to do something crazy like, I don't know, read tarot cards every day. But your background is a little bit Christian and you like to go to church on Christmas and Easter and, you know, please your mom and dads, but you like to read tarot cards and they think they're part of the occult. You could want to move to another location, a place every one of your friends and family think is totally unlivable or remote or something, because this place speaks to your soul, which is very totally uncontestably individual. Now, you might want a change of career, even though the new career offers even more of your time, but pays a lot less, and you don't actually get paid for the hours you put into it. You have to find your very one-of-a-kind psychic food. Culture is supposed to be a set of ideas that allow us to live and let live with one another. Live and let live with one another. To create and help and invent for the good of ourselves and others. We don't know what's best for others. We don't know what's best for our daughter, unless she's maybe 3 years old. We don't know what's best for our husband. We don't know what's best for our best friend. We don't know what's best for that guy at work that seems like he would be really good at this and this. We may know, and hopefully we get little nudges in the right direction about ourselves and our own what we like to gravitate towards. The only way that we as individuals can get rid of this terrible growing plague that threatens ourselves and people on a daily basis is to touch and comfort and care and mend anything or anyone within our reach that is not in balance anymore. You have to do what it is you feel you're called to do and also help others to realize their invaluable individual worth. The culture has totally forgotten this proverb, live and let live. And it has invented other things that we are supposed to do with our time every day. We have to keep up with constantly changing technology. Also, working extended hours or overtime is very normal and often even expected. We go along with it because the cost of living is so high. The cost of food is so high. But this is a culture that, in fact, does not feed its people very much. It starves them of a soul life, of imagination and creativity, of their particular art and passions and sense of sacredness, because of its demands to fit into a prescribed life that's too expensive, too predictable, too busy, and or generally too much the same as everyone else's. Estes has done a lot of important work with refugees, and she discovered through her research that our symptoms in the culture, our mental illnesses, our fears, our anxieties, our self-esteem issues, and depressions are strikingly similar
shockingly similar to the symptoms of refugees. Now, this is not to minimize the horrors and the traumas that refugees go through. Estes is just drawing a parallel between what refugees actually go through with their governments when those governments do not feed and take care of them, and rather destroy them, the lives of its citizens. And what our psyches go through in quite a different way, and quite a different culture, that doesn't take care of or nourish its people psychologically. In some ways, in some cases, destroying their mental wellness. One way we act like refugees is that we individually actually have amazing ideas and intentions, but we are often too frail and not ballsy enough to follow through because of a total lack of encouragement and or lack of available niche. It's like refugees are stepping over bodies and starving to death, watching other people starve to death, and we, on some level, are psychologically also. We truly feel after some time that we can't do anything about our situations. Can you remember when you were a kid and your teacher or your parent or friend or someone recognized this great gift that you had, maybe creative writing or acting, or you were very good in some way artistically, or good at a particular sport, but now you can't make the team. You're never in the top 20. You don't have the look that they are seeking. You get too nervous, you have performance anxiety, and you choke. You second guess yourself too much. You're missing a degree or a diploma, or you're a few credits short. Or you don't have every single angle of the cookie cutter character that they are looking for. And so you keep failing, and you watch your kids or your parents keep failing at something because they can't quite make the cut or fit the bill for whatever reason. We as a society are actually very hard on people who fall short of regular expectations. I mean, we think we're really advanced in that way, but we're not. We still have a lot of preconceptions and judgments. So it's easy to feel that, well, I had that giftedness once, but no, not anymore. There are too many others better than me. I seem to be kind of a screw up actually at this and no, I can't do it. No. There's just not enough choice in our society. There's too few niches. There's too few characters. So as in a war-torn culture in which a sense of learned helplessness arises, we feel hopeless because of so much rejection as we see it. Another way our culture parallels a refugee culture is that there is a lot of fearfulness, so that everything that is perceived in the moment as well as the future is colored by the loss and the failure experienced in the past. In a war-torn country, they'll cut off your hand or your ear or your clitoris if you don't comply with their rules. And here in our culture, we also often mangle ourselves to fit in. These days, there are girls and women going to great lengths for a thigh gap. A thigh gap. Some of us do a lot to sculpt our bodies, not necessarily in the name of health and wellness, but in order to comply with impossible rules of beauty. We psychologically cannot change our shape. It's not in our best interest to change our shape. That thing that makes us most us.
our very one-of-a-kind giftedness and ideas that the world is desperately in need of. Our self is never actually destroyed. It may be dormant for a while, for a little too long maybe, because it's not enlivened by this culture. It's deadened in some cases. But it's always there, as you saw and felt once before. If you find a place in the culture where you clearly do not fit in, that is precisely where the culture needs you, Pencola Estes says. There are going to be others that don't fit in to that area too. You know, perhaps it's not a thigh gap culture, but a thigh rub culture, like me, that likes to enjoy treats when it's not busy taking photographs or creating music, or when it's not wrapped up working at a job that unfortunately doesn't totally suit them. Perhaps it's a shy person culture that's very good at observing and listening, but not so great at speaking. You may actually be the only one in your particular subculture, but I can guarantee you are inspiring people to be themselves and to nourish themselves in whatever ways they see fit when you yourself create a niche. Perhaps you feel too old-fashioned for this world and you just don't want to deal with the jaw-dropping horrors that you hear about in the news all the time. And now you're getting cynical and freaking out that you're not going to be able to make any changes anyways, or offer your viewpoints because society has just changed way too much. No, there is a niche for you too. Estes writes a lot for women, but she also writes for men. And she says that there are men in our culture that are not mainstream in the sense of masculinity or I don't know how to pronounce this word. Modernity? They're not modern, okay? They express their feelings, and you know, perhaps they cry or they sigh. They have very obvious angst and issues with perfectionism. Maybe they worry outwardly. Maybe they dress too conservatively or geeky-like, and they're not interested in sports. Estes says there are far too few slots in the overculture for actual good men. You may feel these days that you are a shade of your former self. Well, you are not alone. You are less alone than the group of people who are actually thoroughly enjoying mangling themselves in various ways to fit into the culture fully, or at least partly. Now, it seems unfortunate, but Estes says that actually we must all go through this. We must go through some sort of painful metamorphosis from which we barely survive. And when our individuality is so terribly threatened, when we are starved and brought down to the very depths of despair, to the very vacuum of soul-sucking, then we'll realize that no, damn it, we are not going to part with our soul. We are not going to part with that part that makes us most us, with ourself. Now, for those of you who aren't spiritual or religious, when I use the word soul, I mean the word psyche. Okay, for example, if you have to live alone, apart from people who you've been with and you're attached to them, but they don't make you tick and honor your soul, your psyche in necessary ways, you will find a way to do it. You'll find a way to stick with your psyche. If we have to earn less money and barely get by, but we manage to hold on to our sanity, our self-esteem, our creativity, our little bits of true joy, we're going to do it. If we have to give up a certain lifestyle, adopt a new lifestyle, tuck ourselves away from the world for a while, or run full throttle into it, blind in all our terrible awkwardness and with lack of proper cell phone gadgets and distractions, we will do it. Injured by that pervasive perspective that we are a few bricks short of a load. Sometimes, very sadly enough, we understand this perspective coming from someone who has a job that's not necessarily considered high status, even though we know this person is incredible and amazing and needs no outward recognition. But when society thinks of someone as amazing too, with through accomplishments and awards, but that person still doesn't feel like they fit in, and is not alone in thinking that way. That in fact, all of the other doctors and engineers and oceanographers and rocket scientists feel that way, and all of the teachers and waitresses and actors and custodians feel that way too. And people on social assistants are feeling that exact same way. Then you know that there must be something lacking in the culture, something lacking that gives people a true sense of purpose and emotional or spiritual confidence. And also a sense of kindredness, that, hey, we're all scarred and beaten and lonely, and therefore we need to encourage and to help to emotionally and spiritually hone one another's very individual talents. Not to try to change them according to our molds, according to society's molds. We do that with our kids a lot, and with people we love, because we fear for them. With the, oh geez, that kid's not going to make it. He's 22 and he still hasn't figured out what to do with his life. What an unmotivated lump of I don't want my daughter dating that guy. I don't want my son to go into acting. There's too much competition, and from what I've seen, he's not that good. That woman is 45 and she hasn't had a date in 5 years. Count them. And she actually wants a partner. Maybe she should think about, brightening up her lipstick a bit, or getting a thigh gap, or, get out there on the dating scene at the very least. That's what over-acculturation does to us. It not only makes us short of self-love, but it lessens our respect and admiration we might have for others, because it blinds us. We are wearing Coke bottle glasses. We really do have these thick lenses. We got the prescription for those lenses from society, from a collective group of some sort or another. Thick, foggy lenses with dogma written all over them about who we should be and who other people should be. And when we take these glasses off, well, no problem. Society has contact lenses that we can wear too. It's not warmly welcome to express your spiritual or emotional sides or highly unique viewpoints on a particular subject, or to have your thighs happily jiggling and chafing when just 2 years ago, you were practically Kim Kardashian at her peak. So we just wear a muzzle or a filter and long pants. And we sort of expect others to do the same if necessary, to not let too much out of the bag. So how do we find the nourishments that feed our soul? Our particular ways, interests, passions, things that really resonate for us, if the culture doesn't offer them. You'll know what it is that you truly like and the people that you truly like when you interact with that person or that tribe or that thing or that activity, that hobby, that experience. You'll know. And if you sit back and you think about it tonight after you watch this show, you might come up with a few hints if you haven't already figured it all out. Good night, everybody. Don't be too over-acculturated.